Legion, Post 85 in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. This afternoon we have a number of Vietnam veterans that have generously volunteered to share their experiences of their service to our country. I, along with Father Phil Salawas, a decorated Vietnam veteran himself, will be hosting the roundtable discussion. Before we begin, though, on behalf of the Post, I want to thank Dave Richards, the General Manager, who's sitting over here diligently running things, for donating the hour of time to us. For those of you that are here and listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen and understand what we all consider these heroes that sit among us today. First person I want to speak with is a gentleman by the name of Ken Howe. And Ken, you want to just tell the people out there where you're from, what your rank, and the branch of service that you were in?
Yeah, I grew up in the east side of Providence. My rank was E4, and I was in the Army.
What was your MOS in the Army, Ken?
Infantry.
Infantry. Yeah, the guys went out and did the real work, right?
You got that right.
Kenny, how old are you? How old are you when you went to Vietnam?
I was 19 and a half.
Did you draft or did you?
Yeah, I got drafted.
You got drafted? That must have been an exciting time.
Oh,
huh?
it was.
Yeah. Do you remember what number you were? Because I remember, like back in my time period, even though I didn't go over, there were different like.
No,
no,
I don't remember.
Yeah, pretty low on the list, more than likely, though, right?
There was at the time we got drafted. It was down the shipyard in Providence. They were looking for Marines. And as we were getting sworn in, they asked for volunteers to join the Marines, and nobody stepped forward. So what they did was a count. 1, 2, 3, Marine. 1, 2, 3, Marine. You want to see a bunch of guys counting to see where they fell in that line.
Trying to switch spots
Yeah.
in line, huh? Now, what did you know about Vietnam at the time you were drafted? I mean, to you, was it just another country? Did you know anything about were you really up to Q on what was going to go on?
Yeah, I was up to par with what was going on over there. And when I got drafted, I knew I was ending up going to Vietnam.
Yep. When you arrived there, when you're there, your first few weeks, what was it like? I mean, I'm sure they indoctrinated you into what was going to go on, what you were going to do. What was that like?
My first night in base camp, we got rocketed. So it was like, this is what kind of a year it's going to be.
Yeah. And once you were established with your unit, what was the daily routine like, basically? Just duck and cover mostly, or?
A lot of humping in the Central Highlands. Full pack, 60, 80 pounds worth of equipment on my back. And we just humped the mountains, patrolling.
Yeah. And as the war progressed, like when you get over there, you're all Spitfire and ready to go and everything like that. But after the first few months, did your attitude change about things, or?
Attitude changed with people that came in after me. There was a squad leader, E5, I'm sorry, instant NCO. He came in, he was squad leader, and he says, okay, this is how we're going to run things. And I looked at him and said, when you've been in country as long as I have, then I'll listen to you. But he was like weeks in country. I was 8 months in country. I said, I know how to stay alive so far.
Yeah. You might want to learn a lesson from me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he went and he told the lieutenant. The lieutenant told him, listen to him. He's been here longer than you.
Yeah, well, I would imagine during that time period, it wasn't all about rank. It was about experience.
Experience, right.
Right. And, I mean, a lot of our Vietnam veterans, which I think was deplorable personally, when you came back, like, you really weren't appreciated. Do you find that different, even like today?
Yes.
And the reason I ask that is I got my two young granddaughters sitting in the audience here, and they you know, they really appreciate what you guys have done. So as things change, I guess.
Very much so. Just to give you an example, when I got out of the service, I went looking for a job, and we had such a bad reputation as baby killers and drug addicts that on my applications, the 2 years I was in the Army, I marked as I was self-employed.
Wow. That's strong right there.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Yep.
Because I wanted a job and I knew
Yep.
what the reputation was.
Yep. Wow. Wow. Father Phil, you want to step in here? I want Father Phil. Father Phil's got a couple of questions.
Oh.
Yeah, Kenny, this is, I'm just curious as to what was your coming home experience like? Did you have any problems though when you first came back?
No, I didn't have any problems. I dressed, you're talking about from, okay.
Home.
From
From you
home.
getting out of Nam and you're coming home and did anybody spit at you? Did you?
No, I was, but then again, I was wearing civilian clothes. Okay, so I already heard about that part.
Right.
Wear civilian clothes, don't wear a uniform.
And what about what we call PTSD? Did you, in those days, we probably didn't know what was going on,
No,
but did you have any kind of psychological repercussions of them? Or
Here's the funny thing for me, is when I came back, I thought everybody changed and I was normal. Years later, I figured out it was just the opposite. I changed.
Yeah. I had the same experience. It felt like I was coming out from a different planet.
Yep.
You know, it was like, is this Earth? I mean, it's just like, it was really weird.
It's like 2 years of my life were gone. They were listening to oldies on the radio that I had never heard of before. I just had a difficult time wrapping my mind around that.
Yeah. And how long after you came home was it before you got a job?
Within 6 or 8 months.
Okay. And was it a truck driver?
No, I did a few other odd jobs
Did you?
prior to, and then I finally got a truck driver's job.
Oh. Well, one of the questions I would ask is like, when we look back 50 years, 50 years or more now,
Right.
what lessons would we be able to help teach our younger veterans that are coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq that we didn't get from our older veterans when we came home?
Get debriefed right away. Okay, there's nothing wrong with having counseling or getting counseling. I think one of the odd things with us was we came home and there was nobody with us on the plane. Okay, that was our brothers. And I think that also had something to do with it.
Right.
There was nobody to vent with that understood and been there and done that.
That's right. Yeah, ours was the only war where we went over there by ourselves. We came home by ourselves. I mean, there were other people, but we didn't know them.
We didn't know them, right?
Yeah, going in. So, well, that's good, and thank you for sharing your experience.
Yeah, thanks, Kenny. Very good way to start things out. Thank you very much, sir. Next person I want to ask to come up is a brother, Post 85 member with me here at the Post. Want to call up Rich Moisen. Rich, you out there somewhere? No, Rich, you're out there. Come on up, brother. How you doing, buddy?
All right.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. You know, I had the pleasure of speaking with Rich a couple of times before this. So, Rich, just tell people a little bit about yourself, hometown, your rank, and your service, and what was your You know, what was your MOS when you went in?
BM. No, bosun mate.
Bosun?
Mate, second class.
Yeah, and you're from Woonsocket
Woonsocket.
here at the time, yeah. And what was your rank? What was your rank when you went there?
BM2.
BM2. And just explain to the people out there that don't know what BM is.
Slave labor.
Slave labor. Rich, and you know, and I know, God, you don't know how much I appreciate you being here because I know how difficult this is to talk with you about this. But I'm just going to ask you straight out. Tell the people out there what you did when you were over there.
Well, I did 2 years on a destroyer shelling the coast of Vietnam. I did 2 tours there. Then I got transferred. I guess my XO didn't like me, so I got transferred to swift boats, coastal and river gunboats. Mm-hmm. And I spent my last 2 years on that.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't want to go back to a ship.
No, no. Tell the folks what it was like on patrolling the rivers, basically, right? What was that like? Tell the folks out there, man. Make them understand.
You couldn't see anything you're shooting at you, so. But the idea is it wasn't really a war in those days.
No.
It was a conflict. Mm-hmm. And I don't know when it turned into a war, but the conflict is I could not shoot at anybody until they shot at me first. They had first shot.
Wow, wow. And I remember asking you a while back, and I thought your answer was pretty interesting, so I kind of expect the same one. What did you do during your off time when you were on those roads?
I.
I think your response to me that day was that I cleaned my weapon and I reloaded a lot.
Yeah, I really do that too. Well, I had twin 50s, so that was a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. And what was it like when you first came home, when you first come back from now?
I didn't like it, put it that way. I didn't like the welcome we got. It wasn't what I was expecting. But I got discharged in California, so I didn't expect too much from them people anyways.
Okay. And
When I got here, first thing I did is take the uniform off and grew my long hair.
there you go.
Fit in with the crowd.
You don't have that long hair anymore, I could tell.
I don't have any hair anymore.
But as far as today, in today's world, and like I mentioned earlier, I got my granddaughters here. They appreciate what you guys have done. Do you feel it's better today than it was when you first came
now
down? You're being
have
recognized.
You
now.
have people thank you for your service now. I mean, depends on who's thanking me. You know, before it used to be spit at. Now they're just talking to you. At least they're doing something, anyways. Whether they're being forced to do it, that's the other thing. You know,
yeah.
a lot of them are young. I don't know if they're told to do that. I have it done in stores and stuff.
Yep.
But they might be being told to do it,
Yeah.
or they might do it on their own. I don't know. But other than that,
But overall, you feel it's a little better today.
oh, it's better today. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. Father Phil, you got a couple of you got a couple of your questions to do?
No, I
No.
covered it pretty much.
All right, great, great. So, Rich, thanks a lot. Appreciate you. You know.
That's
coming
it?
down. Yeah, that's all. That's all. We got a couple other guys we're going to get to out here. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it. Bob Loring. Bob, you want to come up? Bob is another member of the American Legion Post 85 here that's going to come down and talk to us. But once again, the appreciation we have for these gentlemen coming down this afternoon can't be overstated, folks. So, I hope you can appreciate these men coming down and volunteering their time and just sharing their stories with you. Mr. Bob Loring, CB.
CB.
CBs,
Number
right?
one.
Right. You know what? Being a United States Marine myself, I'm shocked there. Well, the thing is, we didn't have any Marines come down the other day because there weren't enough blue crayons to go around.
Oh,
You know, so. But Bob, tell the folks out there what your job was in the Seabees during the Vietnam era.
my job was to keep the fleet running. I was in charge of the lubrication rack and the battery shop and tire shop, and the main thing was batteries. Kept going dead. We had a rock crusher that required like 6 of them, and when that went down, everything stopped. So basically, it was an ongoing job all the time.
Now, where were you in
The first time it was a beach landing. I didn't do a beach landing, but I met the MCB-10 out there on the beach. And it's like any other beach, you walk in the sand and everything gets sandy. And I went right from there to the shop
Uh-huh.
kind of thing.
Yeah. Your daily routine when you were over there, basically just doing, I mean, you must have been busy as heck doing all the maintenance
Well,
and things like that.
I was in charge of doing maintenance, but at that time was just easy stuff. And then it got a little more difficult when it come to the big equipment because it rained, and when it rained for half hour, you was already 6 inches in the mud.
Yeah.
So equipment went down pretty quick.
How much time did you spend over in Nam when you were there?
Altogether, almost 2 years.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I was in
Quite
school.
quite a lengthy tour.
Yes, it was educational. Being a Boy Scout really helped, though. I'll tell you, because I wasn't afraid of. I knew how to live outside in the woods and camp and things, so that wasn't a problem. And my teacher was a chief in the wood shop, so he right then signed me up. But so when I got out of school at 18, I went right into
Right into the
the
sea.
service.
Yeah, right into
I
the
started
sea.
off at Davisville, Rhode Island,
Yeah.
and from there I went to California, Port Hueneme, and met my outfit, MCB-10, and then went over there. And I'll tell you, when I first got there, it took me like over a week just to get my feet on the ground and the vibration of the ground and everything.
Yeah, yeah. When you came back, and I'll ask the same question I'm going to ask everybody. Do you feel it's different now? Do you think people are appreciating what
Well,
you
when
guys
I-
went through
When
compared
I
to
got back,
then?
I was on what they called the advanced group that
Like an
went back.
advanced party, basically.
Party,
Yep.
yeah. And so when I got back, it was just like nothing. Like just getting back to the outfit in Port Hueneme, and then got a little vacation time,
Yeah.
and then met the rest of the group when I got back. So it was really okay.
Yeah. Father Phil, you want to step in here?
No, he's doing all right.
He's doing okay. Okay.
Right, that's CB, that's why.
Well, Bob, I guess that's about all I got for you, but I want to appreciate you coming in.
Well,
And
thank you for having me.
Oh, good enough. Good enough. Thank you.
Okay.
And I know Dave Tebow's hanging around here somewhere. Dave, you around? He just stepped out. Okay, that's okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's bring Leo Turgeon in. All right, Leo, you're back there somewhere. I got a Navy guy back here, so I won't prejudice. Don't worry, we'll get to the Army guys quick. I see all the Army guys back there going, "Hey, what the heck's going on here?" But we started out with an Army guy, so Leo, little background on you when you rank, branch of service, the whole
I
bit.
was a Navy, obviously, and
Yep.
I was in E4, which is a third-class petty officer. I also was on a destroyer out of Newport, USS the Sullivans. I went in early. I went in 57. It was still considered a conflict until 61 or 62
Yeah.
of February, But I was blue water Navy. We spent some time off the coast of Vietnam, but I never set foot in it.
So what was I mean, basically shelling targets, I would
Yes.
imagine, right? Right? And did you, or at that time it was a see, this is how little I know about it. Was there a draft going on at that time?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So did you get drafted or did you
No, I didn't.
volunteer?
I enlisted.
You enlisted, huh?
Yeah.
A little quick story about you that I'm sure you want to tell, and I think our audience out there will get a kick out of it as well as the people here. But go ahead and tell that story about how you got in.
I only have one eye. I'm blind in the other eye. Now it's artificial. Back then I still had the eye, but no sight in it. And when I went for the physical in Providence to see if I qualified to get in, they just had a line of people, and they had you read the bottom line one way and cover that I and do it the other way. So I memorized the line, read it backwards. They put me down as 2020.
You still have that same memory today?
I do.
Wow, my goodness. So be careful what you say in front of them. I come back to bite you folks, I'll tell you that much. Daily routine when you're on the ship.
I was a storekeeper. I was in charge of all the spare parts on the ship. Ordering and distributing.
All right, and basically the parts were for the ship itself, or?
Yes.
Okay.
No, they were for the ship itself.
Okay, and what was, I mean, you're on board ship, and, you know, I don't care if you're in a war zone, you're in a war zone. It's that simple, but knowing that there were guys on the ground and you on the ship, did that affect you in any way? I mean.
Well, we worried about them, you know,
Yeah.
that they properly supplied and especially in the beginning, it was slow going. Then it got worse. I served till 63, so I wasn't there for the Tet Offensive.
Uh-huh,
And
yep. What was your attitude about the war at that time? How'd you feel about it? I mean, you volunteered, which is a little bit different than how most of the guys had to go in.
I didn't give it too much thought because when you're out there, you don't get much news. We didn't have cell phones and all that other stuff, so didn't really know everything that was going on. I learned more after I got out, and
Wow. Yeah.
I didn't go through what some of the guys went through about how they were treated when they got out because I was discharged in Newport and my car was there, so I just drove home.
There
I
you
did
go.
it so fast I got stopped for speeding on the base,
Gee.
but they let me go because
Yeah.
I was being discharged that day.
Yeah,
Took off my uniform and
that was it.
never put it on again, never heard anything about it, never spoke about it.
As far as the Vietnam veterans today, and same question I asked everybody, you think they're appreciated more today than they were
Today
back then?
they are, definitely. I have people thank me for my service now where, 60 years ago, I wouldn't even dare wear my uniform anywhere.
Yeah, I find that very refreshing to hear from just about everybody so far because, I think that's very important that the younger generation, realize that, it just isn't about, the Iraqi wars or anything like that. That there were wars before this.
Yes, there were.
Yeah.
They don't seem to be teaching that in school. They don't seem to get to it in the history class. I spoke to a history teacher who said they don't have enough time to cover them all. They go back too far. I don't want to. They should stop talking about the Romans and the Vikings and think more about World War II, Korea, and Vietnam.
And it's funny you say that because one of my granddaughters over here a few months back, or maybe a year or so back, I remember her coming home and saying she wanted to do a report on Vietnam. And
I was in 5th grade.
you were in the 5th grade? Okay.
10th grade now.
She's in the 10th grade, so quite a few years back. But in the 5th grade, she wanted to do a report on Vietnam, and the teacher said it was too graphic, too much conflict, And I came home, and the first thing I wanted to do was run down to the school and give them all heck, But so.
Did they think it didn't exist? I mean, it
I don't
lasted
know,
till
but,
1975.
Too controversial, maybe, huh? Too controversial for some of the teachers out there today.
Like changing the name of VJ Day to...
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Father Phil, you got anything? No. Okay. No, Dave's here? Good. Okay, we're going to call Dave Tebow. Hey, thanks a lot, Leo. Appreciate it, man. Dave, yeah, we were going to call Dave, but Dave stepped out there, so we had Leo fill in.
I'm here now.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, if you can do as good a job as the rest of the guys did,
I
might
don't
have
think
you
so.
hang
It's
around.
going to be short and sweet.
Dave, all the stuff, your branch of service, your rank when you were in, where you from?
From North Smithfield, enlisted in 1964.
Air Force?
Air Force, United States Air Force. I was a sergeant when I got discharged. Naturally went in.
Yep.
And anything else?
Yeah, what'd you do? What'd you do when you were over there?
I went to tech school. I repaired long-range radar. We did all the refueling over the north and the rescues out of Laos. I was right over the border in Thailand. That's why our radar set was set up. We had the Jolly Greens and forward air controllers and attack planes.
And when you first got up, what were your first couple of weeks like over there? I
Oh.
mean, indoctrination and all that happy stuff.
Well, we got bit by all the mosquitoes there and every bug that was in country. And so you get that red dirt in you, you were all set. Then they stop biting you, and you were clear.
Daily routine.
Daily routine. We worked 16 hours a day on the radar systems, kept them up. While I was there, we did put in a whole new sail radar system, which we had 2 going at the time because I was there in '67. It was just escalating
Just
then.
ramping up
Yeah.
pretty good, huh?
Yep.
I imagine, like I said, it goes show you how unknowledgeable I probably am on this, but what you've done and people
Oh.
come up and
Oh, you like this program.
Uh-huh.
Normally you wouldn't see this or hear it. So it's very nice.
yeah, well, good,
Yeah.
good. I'm happy for that. Once again, I will go to Father Phil. Let's get Ernie up here. Father Phil's saying because Ernie came in with a little. Thank you very much, sir, Dave. Appreciate it. Ernie came in with a little bit of a bad throat this morning. So, but Ernie and I was able. Ernie is the treasurer of the United Veterans Council here in.
Well, I'm
Here
the
in
treasurer.
Woonsocket.
I'm not, the president's sitting behind me. I'm the treasurer.
I said, did I say president? I
Yeah.
thought I said, okay, I
Past-
got to enunciate.
Past
Treasurer.
president.
Past president. But Ernie, I had the pleasure of speaking with Ernie just a little bit at the UVC banquet the other day, and Ernie took up a little bit of time, which I'm hoping he'll do this afternoon with
Yeah.
us. Ernie, a little bit about you, branch of service, rank when you were in there, and basically, did you volunteer or did you get drafted and all that stuff?
No, I was drafted, excuse me, I was drafted in 1965. As a matter of fact, December 1st of 65. It's a date that I won't forget because my wife's birthday is December 2nd. So you remember the day you got drafted, so the next day is your wife's birthday. So you keep that into. No, I was drafted. Different than some of these other guys here, my history. When I was drafted, there was about 20 guys, 25 guys from Rhode Island, from the Woonsocket, Burrillville, Lincoln, Cumberland. When we went to Providence and got sworn in, we were put on a bus, sent down to Fort Dix, New Jersey. We stayed there for about 13 days, where you had to do all your testing and your physicals and get fitted for uniforms and such. Then they put us on a plane, and they sent us out to Fort Lewis, Washington, the state of Washington. What was unique about my situation is those guys that I got drafted with, we stayed together our entire time in the military. From the day we got drafted till the day we came home, we were together. Unlike having replacements come in, the camaraderie that you have with those guys is different. It's different. They're my brothers. They're my brothers. And to this day, we still have reunions. We get together once a year. Unfortunately, because of age and sickness, we're losing guys. Their spouses are part of our family, and they attend our reunions just to keep that that camaraderie amongst the wives and ourselves, which is kind of great.
That in itself is just so heartfelt to me.
Yeah.
That is unbelievably great. At the time, what did you know about Vietnam? I mean, you got drafted, right? And I'd be remiss. Let me back up a little bit. I would be remiss in mentioning our first speaker, Ken Howe, was the recipient of 2 Purple Hearts. I don't think we mentioned that, Ken, so I wanted to get that out there. But Ernie, you were also a Purple Heart recipient, correct?
Yes, I did.
And say to me again, because my mind is mush sometimes, CIIB, too. What's
It's a combat infantryman's badge. Only a person who is in the infantry will get a combat infantryman badge. They have combat action badges and some other ones, but the CIB, which is the rifle with the blue background, is a combat infantryman's badge. You get that for being in the infantry, which I was.
Yeah, I think they're more commonly known among us as ground pounders, as we call ourselves.
Grunts.
Grunts,
Yes,
ground
grunts.
pounders.
Because every time you put your foot on the ground, you grunted it just a little bit more.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I remember jumping off a deuce in a house with that 60-pound pack on my back, and I think I just hit the ground and lay there now. What did you know about Vietnam at the time you were drafted? I mean, were you like up to tune, like, okay,
well,
this is a conflict, a war?
Because my situation in being drafted, we heard about Vietnam from the day we got drafted. We ended up bringing the 4th Infantry Division over to Vietnam.
Wow.
I did not fly over. Some of our advanced people did about a week before we left. It took me 21 days to get there aboard ship.
And of course, you didn't have any seasickness or
Not at all. First day aboard ship, you're seasick, you can't hold anything down, and guess what your first job was? KP.
Oh, beautiful, huh? Beautiful. And I know I had mentioned I'd spoken to you a little bit, and one of the interesting things you had told me was in your first few weeks in Vietnam, once you arrived, what was it? This is so good.
What they did was they put us in a base camp, and there were a lot of rocks there. The Republic of Korea, those guys were crazy. And our first night there, they decided to shoot their weapons. I have to let you know that.
Now, these guys are on our side.
They're on our side.
They're on our side. They're firing weapons.
Yeah, and here's your first night, and we don't have any ammo. We didn't know what was going on because you had to get indoctrinated into country before they gave you any ammo.
But you had your weapon, but nothing to put in it.
Nothing to put in it, and you got people firing all around, and you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on. We knew we were in trouble. The day they handed us ammunition, that's when we went to the field.
Yeah,
that's when we went to the field.
Yeah, the real stuff began.
The real
then,
stuff began. Yes.
Now, imagine you did patrols and things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. As a comment that was made earlier, some of us some of the guys that were killed in action, when we had a new replacement come in, they would walk up to us and kind of walk away from us because we were in the field for quite a while. And anybody who's been in the field for quite a while, you had the same clothes on that you got there in country. Yeah, you had a little bit of a stink about yourself.
Yeah.
And these kids would come over. I say kids, they were 19, we were 20, but we were experienced. And they'd kind of walk away from us and say, hey, fine, walk away. They're going to smell you long before they smell me because you smell like the environment.
And Father Phil, I'm gonna let you relax over there because I'm gonna bring you up next. So I'm gonna go over some of your questions with Ernie, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, great. What's one thing that sticks out in your mind when you think of your tour in Vietnam? A person or event or you spoke of your camaraderie with the guys that are still around from your unit.
I don't have any sibling brothers. I got 3 sisters, okay? And those guys were my brothers. And I consider them my brother. We were from Rhode Island, Long Island, New York, upstate New York, Michigan, and Kentucky. And one of the odd things is our friends from the southern parts of the country, the states, wanted to know how we felt about fighting for the South. And that's the kind of thing that we had. We did our job, and we survived. We survived.
Any regrets? Any regrets?
No, I don't. The experience, as the gentleman mentioned, that Kenny didn't put on his job application that he was in the service, he was self-employed. My situation was unique when I got home. The first thing, literally, the first thing I did is I bought a car. I hadn't even seen my parents or my family yet.
Wow.
And I got a call that night when I was home that the loan company checked and I hadn't been employed. I was not reported back to work. 2 days later, from the day I got home, 2 days later, I was back to work.
Wow.
I mainstreamed myself.
Yeah.
I think that helped me some. Some of the guys I know took 30 days off, 60 days off, and they started thinking about, I didn't have the time to do that. And I think that changed me quite a bit.
So
quite a bit.
getting right back into the swing of things, basically, and
yes.
the surveying side of
Yes,
it will
yeah.
help you a
Yes,
lot.
yes.
Yeah. 50 years later,
50
lessons Vietnam taught you, especially
56.
50 plus,
56.
right? What advice would you give young men and women returning from Iraq and Afghanistan? What's some of the wisdom you could pass on?
Go to the VA. Go to the VA. You're entitled and you've earned that health care. The one thing about the VA is the clinicians there, they know how to talk to veterans, as opposed to the clinicians who are not outside the private sector. Those people there know how to ask the right questions of a veteran, and it makes a difference. It makes a difference. I suffered from depression early on, and my GP, general practitioner, was pumping me with drugs and trying to get me squared away. It wasn't until I went to the VA and talked to a psychiatrist and started getting help from them that it finally started to kick in that I needed the help. And every time I still have that individual as my GP. And when I see him, I says, remember, if they have a problem, ask if they're a veteran. If they are a veteran, have them go to the VA, because you really can't help them. So that's one thing I would tell them. That it's out there for you. You've earned it. Take advantage of it.
Got my two young granddaughters sitting here. What do you want the younger generation, like the kids, 13 and 16? What would you like the teenagers to know about that conflict?
Well, I can't say that. One of the problems that we have is my dad was a World War II veteran. Unfortunately, he never had to go overseas. I'm still trying to talk to my children who are in their 50s about my experiences. I've got a grandson who's 7 years old, and I'm starting to write a diary for him. So when he's a little bit older, he can look and see what Grandpa did. But don't be afraid to ask a veteran. They may not answer you directly, but please, the one thing I would ask you to do, if you're going to thank a veteran for his service or her service, look them straight in the eye and say it with sincerity. Just don't do it nonchalantly and say thank you for your service and walk away. That means more than anything else for us.
That's some awesome advice right there. Ernie, thanks so much for your candidness and your openness. I really, really appreciate it, sir. Thank you. And I've went through quite a few of the lists, but last but not least, Father Phil, I get a chance to ask you some questions. I am really looking forward to this. Those of you that don't know a little bit about Father Phil Salois,
That's right.
get that?
You
Look
got
at that, huh? You got that
Elaine.
But Father Phil, if you know a little bit about him, or if you don't, all you got to do is do a little Google search. Put his name in, Phil Salois, and it pops up, and then and the Woonsocket Call, I think, did a little thing on you. But if you want to read the experiences of a guy that's got some good stories to tell, I would highly suggest that you do that. So let's just get into a little bit of Father Phil's background, if we can. Branch of service, Father Phil, and your rank and the whole bit when you were over there.
Well, first of all, I was born in Woonsocket,
Woonsocket.
but I was raised in California, Southern California, from the age of 9 until I got drafted So most of my years, formative years, were spent in California. I was drafted into the Army on March 9th, 1969, and almost got drafted into the Marines, but like as Kenny was saying earlier, in my draft board, we were lined up in our skivvies and asked to count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We didn't know what that was all about.
They didn't tell you.
They didn't tell me, but I was number 5, and they said, okay, all number 4 step forward, turn right, you're going to the Marine Corps recruiting Camp Pendleton. Oh, phew. The rest of us went up north to Fort Ord and froze our butts off up there.
Yeah.
It was a winter time, and it's foggy, and it was miserable, but
What was your knowledge about Vietnam at that time?
then nothing.
Nothing. Huh?
I was a totally ignorant child. I wasn't a flower child, but I was of that generation, of the hippie generation, but
So basically, you were going overseas to a place that you said,
I have no idea.
What the heck is this going to be all about, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't, and that was my first time away from home, because I was a homeboy, so
Yeah. So what was your MOS? Your
11 Bravo.
11 Bravo, and so
Grunt.
Grunt, yeah,
Infantry.
yes, same as Ernie.
Ground pounder.
Doing ground pounders,
Yeah.
doing all that good stuff. First few weeks in country, what were it like?
Well, the first couple of weeks we go into a replacement battalion where you're going to wait and you're going to be there a couple of weeks for indoctrination and until they assign you to what your unit's going to be. So that
unlike Ernie, you didn't have you
so
didn't
it's-
go over with a whole.
Oh no, I went
group?
up by myself,
Uh-huh.
and we flew over. We didn't. Unlike Ernie, I was. We didn't go by boat. We flew over.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got to my unit, I was to be assigned to 199th Light Infantry Brigade, 3rd Battalion, 7th Infantry, and it so happened that when they brought me to my unit, they were already out in the field. So I said, oh, okay, well, I'll just wait here in the barracks, wait for them to come home. He said, oh, no, we're sending you out in the field right now. I said, well, it was a brand new camouflage, and, oh, gosh, I got a lot to say. This is not important, but what I want to say is the healing that took place after the war. I was involved in an ambush, and I rescued some guys with a couple other guys that earned me the Silver Star, and that's what got me into the priesthood later on.
Yeah, I want that story. I think that story for
Well,
the
I
public.
made a promise to God. I said, in that ambush that I'm going to go out and rescue you. If you get me back safe and sound without a scratch, I'll do anything you want. I didn't promise I'd become a priest. I just said do anything you wanted. And it was 4 years after the war when I felt the call to the priesthood, but I didn't make the connection to Vietnam until I was in the seminary. So it was kind of interesting. But the thing was that I spent many years trying to heal from Vietnam. I was in called the Vietnam closet, where no one wanted to hear about your stories. Nobody wanted to hear about it. I said, well, yeah, that was a long time ago, Phil. Don't worry about it. It's in your past. But it never goes away. So when I worked at the VA, there was an opportunity for them to do they were doing a research to send a group of veterans back to Vietnam with a VA psychiatrist to see to go back to your battlefield and see if it would be healing. And so I volunteered for that. My mother thought I was crazy. My buddies thought I was nuts to go back there. But I mean, I really had a hatred for Vietnamese people and the food and everything. And as a priest, I couldn't do that. So I went back, and it ended up being a 3-week trip with mostly Marines in our group. So we spent more time up in the in the DMZ area where they were stationed. And we had one nurse that came with us. It was from Chulai. Leslie Feldstein. We called her our Jewish princess. And but it was an excellent trip. It was healing, and it enabled me to put Vietnam into perspective. that it wasn't going to haunt me anymore, that it was going to use it as a blessing and to help others.
That's great stuff, right there. How do you feel about like today? Do you think like people are appreciating the service of not only yourself but your comrades that sit here today?
Well, I think so. I think so, and then we're getting so much publicity now. I think now that most of the World War II guys are gone or are going, and there's the Korean War veterans that are in their 90s now.
Yeah.
So we're the next group, and I think they're finally appreciating us and our work. Just look at the attention we're getting. So I really appreciate it. I go to the market. I always wear my cap. People say, "Well, thank you for your service. Thank you for," and I appreciate that. It really does, because it wasn't like that when I first came home. No one appreciated it.
You know, I saw a little thing the other day that they talk about, like, why do we wear, are we looking for, like, gratitude from people when we wear our symbols? And no, we just want to meet other guys that were like
that,
you want to
and-
see your other Vietnam
and
vets,
pride
and I
in
want
our
to see my
country.
other Marines.
It's
yeah.
pride in our country.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of being an American. And I don't know where America's going now.
Yeah.
It's going down the tubes if we don't get something changed.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So, Dave, how we looking for time there? Our producer man over here. We got about a minute left, so I am going to thank Father Phil from the bottom of my heart for helping me out today. I mean, Dave, thank you very much for bringing everything in. I just want all you gentlemen sitting here to know that I just missed the Vietnam call. I have got so much respect for you guys, every one of you sitting here, not only for what you've done for our country, but just coming here today and sharing your stories, because I know for some of you it was difficult. For others like Ernie, who just likes to go, but I know it's difficult for you guys, and I can't appreciate it more than you can imagine.
Well,
So,
thank you, Rich, for doing this and getting us together to do this. It's wonderful. Today is Vietnam Veteran Recognition Day.
Yep.
It's also Good Friday, so make sure you all go to church this Sunday.
That'll wait, Father Phil. Get that last message out there. Well, happy Easter to everybody, and I want to thank Dave Richards and WON Radio once again for allowing us this time down here at American Legion Post 85 in Woonsocket. Come on down and visit us. This is the type of things that we do.